Picture this. You walk into a boardroom full of executives, a party where you know nobody, or even just your local coffee shop. Before you say hello, before you introduce yourself, before you even make eye contact, something has already shifted. Conversations pause. Heads turn. People notice. And it all happened without you saying a single word. What if I told you that some of the most powerful people in history commanded entire rooms not through their words, but through their presence alone? Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of non-verbal dominance and how you can master these invisible forces to transform how others perceive and respond to you. Let's start with something called spatial dominance. Have you ever noticed how certain people seem to own whatever space they occupy? It's not about their size or their voice volume. It's about how they position themselves in relation to others and the environment around them. When you enter any room, resist the urge to immediately find a corner or wall to lean against. Instead, position yourself where you can see most of the room while remaining visible to others. This creates what psychologists call a position of strategic advantage. You're subconsciously communicating that you're comfortable being seen and that you're aware of your surroundings. Here's something most people get wrong about posture. They think good posture means standing rigid like a soldier. Actually, commanding presence comes from what I call relaxed authority. Your shoulders should be back but not tense, your spine straight but not stiff, and your weight evenly distributed. Imagine a string pulling you up from the crown of your head while the rest of your body hangs naturally from that point. Now let's talk about the power of deliberate movement. Watch how truly confident people move through space. They don't rush, they don't fidget, and they certainly don't apologize for taking up space. Every gesture is purposeful. When they reach for something, the movement is smooth and intentional. When they turn to face someone, their entire body turns together rather than just twisting their neck. Eye contact is perhaps the most powerful nonverbal tool you possess, but most people use it incorrectly. The mistake isn't making too little eye contact, it's making it at the wrong times. When you're listening to someone, maintain steady eye contact about 70% of the time. When you're speaking, look away occasionally as you gather your thoughts, then return your gaze to deliver key points. This pattern creates the impression that you're both thoughtful and confident. But here's where it gets really interesting. The most commanding people understand something called the power pause. Before responding to any question or comment, they allow a brief moment of silence. Not long enough to be awkward, just long enough to signal that they're considering their response rather than reacting impulsively. This tiny pause transforms you from someone who reacts to someone who responds with authority. Your hands tell a story about your confidence level. Nervous people tend to hide their hands in their pockets, clasp them behind their backs, or fidget with objects. Confident people keep their hands visible and use them purposefully. When standing, let your arms hang naturally at your sides or loosely clasped in front. When sitting, place them calmly on the table or armrests. And when you do gesture, make sure your movements extend beyond your body's silhouette rather than staying cramped close to your torso. Facial expressions carry enormous weight in how others perceive your authority. The goal isn't to maintain a stern poker face, but rather what researchers call calm alertness. Your default expression should appear relaxed yet engaged, as if you're mildly curious about everything around you, but not desperate for stimulation or approval. This expression suggests that you're comfortable in your own skin while remaining open to interaction. Voice tone and pace matter even when you're barely speaking. When you do need to make brief comments or acknowledgements, speak slightly slower than feels natural and from a deeper part of your chest rather than your throat. Even simple words like exactly or interesting carry more weight when delivered with this intentional vocal quality. Let's address something crucial about timing and rhythm. People with commanding presence understand the power of strategic silence. They don't feel compelled to fill every quiet moment with words or nervous laughter. They're comfortable with pauses in conversation, understanding that sometimes the most powerful response is simply thoughtful silence followed by a slight nod or meaningful look. Personal space is another invisible boundary that confident people manage masterfully. They don't invade others' space aggressively, but they also don't shrink away unnecessarily. They maintain what psychologists call optimal distance, close enough to engage meaningfully but far enough to avoid creating discomfort. And here's the key. They let others adjust the distance rather than constantly repositioning themselves. Your relationship with objects in the environment also communicates volumes about your confidence. Notice how some people perch on the edge of chairs as if ready to flee at any moment, while others settle in fully. How you interact with doors, whether you hold them confidently or slip through apologetically, sends signals about your comfort level in any space. Now here's something that separates true presence from mere performance. Authentic commanding presence comes from inner calm rather than external manipulation. The techniques I've shared work because they're expressions of genuine confidence, not masks to hide insecurity. The most powerful people aren't trying to dominate others. They're simply comfortable being themselves in any situation. The transformation begins the moment you decide to occupy space with intention rather than apology. Start practicing these principles in low-stakes environments. Notice how your presence affects the energy in different rooms. Pay attention to how others respond when you embody these qualities authentically. Remember, commanding a room isn't about intimidating people or making others feel small. It's about radiating the kind of calm confidence that makes others feel more at ease while naturally looking to you for leadership and guidance. Your presence is your power. Master it, and you'll discover that sometimes the most profound influence happens in perfect silence.